Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gerard the Dinosaur, the show where we go behind the scenes and talk about those in the entertainment industry who don't usually get to be looked at. Today, I have with me Aaron. Help me out here, Aaron Bouthillier.
Bouthillier, it's French.
Oh my goodness, I was not even a little bit close.
That's the story of my life.
I'm sorry about Aaron. One more time.
Bouthillier.
Bouthillier. Bouthillier. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Boots EA.
Boots EA. Okay, and I promise that's the last time I got it. It's in there now.
It's all good.
It's in the noodle. Bouthillier, who is an animator / character designer, for various projects that we're going to hear about. Thank you for coming on today, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us what kind of animation you do, what kind of design you do. I just kind of said that as like a blanket statement. I don't know exactly, what kind of work you do. I know there's different kinds of animation. I know there's different kinds of design. So, break it down for us.
Yeah, well, I started out doing TV animation way back in the day, and got into games kind of coincidentally by happenstance. But basically, I've been doing 2D stuff most of my career. So what that means is basically, drawing on a Cintiq and working in Flash mostly. So, I'll do a lot of hand drawing, design and animation, using like Photoshop or Sketchbook or whatever, and end up kind of doing like a hybrid system of hand drawn and simple animation. It's the system we've been using for animation for 8 years ago now. So yeah, That's kind of a rough sketch. I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but yeah.
Well, we can get into what exactly you use later, but I guess let's just start off with how did you get into what you do now? Like, did you grow up knowing that, did you used to draw and you were like, when I grow up I want to be an animator and whatnot, or what was your goals and stuff like that?
Yeah. I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. I used to love comic books. I think that's a pretty kind of normal story for a lot of kids growing up in the 80s. But I used to just basically draw all the time. And what happened was I had a family friend, a friend of my parents, come visit, and he was a lead animator in Vancouver doing hand-drawn animation in a studio at Delaney and Friends at the time. And so he came by and just said, hey, you like to draw. Have you ever heard of animation? Or did you know that you can be an animator? And that kind of was a bit of an eye-opener in terms of just the fact that it's like, oh, you can actually, this is a career,
Mm-hmm.
This is something that you can go and pursue and get a job in. And I was 16 at the time. And so that was really cool to have that information early on. And basically, kind of long story short, I messed around traveling and having a good time and being a kid. And it wasn't until I was about 22, 23 where I decided to get serious. So I came down to Vancouver, went to the Capilano Commercial Animation Program, which is a 2-year diploma program. Graduated from there, got a job in cartoons, doing TV animation at Atomic Cartoons in Vancouver. And shortly after that, about a year after that, joined Klei Entertainment. And I've been doing stuff for them ever since.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's go back a little bit. You said you did some cartoons. What cartoons did you do?
I worked on a show called Kartik.
Okay.
Which had a limited run. I think it was 2 seasons. You could totally be forgiven for not knowing it.
It's okay. Some of the best shows have only 2 seasons.
Yeah. It was just it was a cool experience because I met my art director Jeff Agala, who I'm working with now. He hired me for Kartik. And, about 8 months or a year later, ended up moving over to Klei as the art director there. So just making that connection with him was a big kind of step for me in my career to meet somebody that I wanted to work with a lot. Yeah. So I still love animating. I still love doing character work, and it's just that games as a career has proved to be a little bit more varied, like a little bit more breadth in terms of what I get to do.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So then, speaking of games, you said you got to work with Klei, and I know Klei is like they've got the big titles. They've got Don't Starve, which I know is a huge hit in the indie world.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you wanna talk about your experiences there a little bit.
For sure. I mean, I might go back a little bit.
Okay.
Basically, like for me, I came on at Klei in 2008, working on a game that eventually got canceled because our publisher basically like picked up shop and left Vancouver. So then we ended up being free to do, free from contract to do whatever we wanted to do. And it was at that time that we basically decided to put out Shank, which was for me was kind of a breakout thing because I hadn't kind of taken the lead up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great thing to develop a pipeline and kind of get to see that game all the way through. And basically after Shank, we did Shank 2, about half the development setting for the Ninja, which is a title that some people might know. So Mark of the Ninja was fantastic, really fun project to be on. And that was actually the last game that I've done gameplay animation for up until this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And so basically like my role on Don't Starve, was like throughout the years was basically promotional. So I get credits on it, but I didn't do any gameplay animation. Or character design for that matter. Basically my role was to do trailers and promotional materials, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah. So for me, that was a fantastic experience. By the end of Mark of the Ninja, I kind of felt like I needed a break from gameplay for a minute, and it ended up being a little bit longer than I had intended.
Well, I mean, Mark of the Ninja was fantastic too. They're both great games. Yeah,
I mean, Don't Starve is just the game that is kind of just blown up, and everybody knows it and loves it. But yeah, after a while, like I basically worked on a project for a year that got canceled, and I've been working on my current game for 3 years now, maybe 3.5 years. So you kind of wonder where the time goes, right?
Yeah.
In between releases, it's like, oh man, I need a credit. but I have a game coming out this year, so that's exciting.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the games you've worked on, and I like to ask about the industry because I don't know if when people listened, maybe they might one day be interested in going into the industry themselves. So I want to talk about, because you said that you went to GDC, right?
Yep, that's correct.
So I don't know if you want to talk about, what that's like, because I know it's very industry focused and there's a lot of people to talk to and there's a lot of panels to go to, and, just tell us about your experience there.
For me, this was my third GDC, and I kind of skipped a few years. Basically, the studio will send a bunch of, a handful of us down each year for a variety of reasons. Last year was we had hired quite a few new audio folks and audio people down to learn and kind of absorb contacts and information and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it kind of this year for me was just I kind of put my name in a hat and I'm like, hey, I'd like to go again. Because it's inspiring, it's refreshing. I like to go and see what's up and just get excited to make games, But Jeff and I, again, Jeff Gallo, my art director, him and I did a talk at GDC, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago now, basically like describing our animation pipeline that we used on Shank and Ninja. So that experience was totally unique to go and actually do a talk and get to hang out with fellow speakers and all that. But this year for me, it was mostly just going. I mostly focused on going to talks.
So, but you've spoken at GDC. There's a talk of you out there somewhere.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It's kind of that was.
Oh my goodness.
That was a fun experience. Yeah.
You're famous.
I don't like public speaking, so that was a good experience for me to try to kind of get over that.
Good.
Yeah. It's funny when you're at a desk animating and drawing all day, getting out in front of people can be a little bit intimidating.
And so you've got the industry, you've got the part where you need to go out there and talk to people, and then what about the desk part? Like in terms of animating, you already mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, but what were all the different programs that you needed to learn to be a successful animator? Like, did you need to do more like Photoshop, or did you need to do more like Blender and Maya type stuff? I know you said you do more 2D stuff, so I don't know what's along those routes, but
Yeah, you know, I've kind of got a little bit of a unique case in that I haven't dabbled in 3D because our games have been 2D for so long that I just get to kind of hang out in that space. So I focus a lot on draftsmanship for animation and trying to continue to develop appeal and all the things that go along with doing traditional animation. But we use, like I said, we've been using it's Adobe Animate now, but it was Flash. We've been using Flash I have my entire career. But other than that, like having a proficiency in Photoshop was something that I developed over the time. After Effects, Premiere, like doing trailers, you do video editing, compositing. So that was all stuff that I kind of like worked into. It's not like I didn't go get an education for that. It's just on the job. It's like, hey, I got to learn how to edit. So you just kind of pick it up and run with it. And again, Jeff is a great resource for that, like helping me out in terms of like learning how to composite and all that stuff. So we use like a wide breadth of the Adobe stuff, but we also have some proprietary software as well. So yeah, like we have a video editing compositing tool that was built in house, which kind of caters to our specific needs, which is totally fun and awesome because we get to kind of work with the programmer Nick and develop tools that we need specifically for us. But yeah, in terms of like those are pretty much the tools that I use. Yeah, Sketchbook Pro sometimes, but I don't branch out a whole lot.
Well, that already is a lot. That's I think that would be very helpful for like an up and coming student who wanted to know. I think that's a very helpful answer.
Yeah, in Vancouver, there's studios are still producing TV animation in Flash. Toon Boom Harmony is being used a lot.
Huh.
We don't use Harmony in our studio only because our pipeline has been established to work with Flash for texture output and all that kind of stuff. Like we have a pipeline that works well for us. So it's an efficiency thing. Like switching over to a whole different 2D software package would just be, we'd have this huge kind of like learning curve. Not to say that we wouldn't if we had to. Right. It's just kind of like, roll with the punches.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So final industry question. What is, now that you've been in it for, I'd say a fair amount of time, you've worked on shows, you've worked on Mark of the Ninja, you've helped out with Don't Starve. What would you say is something you've learned about the industry, and what would you say is a piece of advice that you would give someone who's trying to get into it?
That's a big question.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. I'm just thinking, like, I think that being kind of light on your feet in a way and being able to kind of pivot your expectations is pretty key. One thing I've definitely experienced is, even at the outset, having a game canceled and just kind of having to flat switch and move something else is just something you kind of get used to, and I feel like it's not ideal, but it's going to happen. And even with software stuff too, right? It's like, hey, the more you dabble in other software and get comfortable with different functionality and stuff, the better off you'll be when someone says, hey, can you do this?
Right.
You're like, yeah, I'll probably use Photoshop, right? I'm comfortable animating in that. And it's the draftsmanship thing. I think it's beneficial for anybody, but if you're doing 2D animation, I feel like, for me anyways, focusing on drawing skills and design skills. Like when it comes to animating, design and appeal are such a huge part of that kind of continuing to draw and study design animation is to me crucial, but it's not true for everybody,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And is there anything you would do differently if you could do it all over from the beginning, or?
Honestly, I think I would. I've always wanted to study light and color a little bit more. I really admire anybody who can paint well, and but for me, just because I've been animating and doing character design for so long, that doing that like amazing backgrounds is just not something I have a lot of time for. Like I don't get a chance. I can do it at home for sure, but in my job, I don't really get to do it much. And so being able to just kind of branch out or even doing like a little bit more art education prior to animation school would have been great. I have friends that kind of went to art and studied art before getting into animation, and they seem to have a little bit more breadth of knowledge that way. So, but that's something that you can always jump into after the fact, you know. Yeah, study, just study.
Do you I guess, do you have a shameless plug you'd like to? Are you working on a current project? I know if it's someone else's project, you're probably under NDA or something like that. I've been told not to dig, so I won't, but you're free to talk about it if you'd like to.
Well, I mean, I would definitely plug Griff Lance.
Okay.
We announced 2 years ago, and we've been delayed a lot, and I know some people are interested in it, and we've just kind of been quiet about it for a long time because we had some development issues, and we've signed a deal, and I'm not really free to talk too much about the business side of it, but definitely like Griff Lance is coming out, and I want people to check it out. So yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for sure. What is it?
It's an RPG card game with like high fidelity 2D animation and graphics. It's got kind of a 70s it's got like a French comic vibe with a little bit of sci-fi and a little bit of Mobius, but also like modern. We developed the art style like 3 years ago and have really kind of honed it, and nobody's really seen much of it yet, so I'm excited about that.
When can we expect like an art style reveal, would you say? Or...
I'm working on a trailer right now that should be dropping in May.
Okay.
So
keep your eyes out.
They'll get a glimpse of it in May, and then we're going to be in early access for a year after that. So people should be able to get it in their hands if they want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question. My favorite question, everyone else's least favorite question, and I know we've already had some doozies today. What is your favorite piece of media? A game, film, music, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my goodness. That's really tough. And you even gave me a heads up and I didn't even write anything down. It's funny because like on a broader level, I play a lot of AAA action games because I like to just run around and stat. So, like there's so many great games, I recently played Oxenfree, which has an amazing art style. I grew up on on Star Wars and all that kind of I feel like it'd be cliche to list all the stuff that I was into when I was a kid. But for media, it's comics, and video games, and yeah.
I think you're the first one I've had so far that said comics, so that's fair.
Man, I don't have room anymore to collect them. I gotta go digital. But yeah, I mean, like Hellboy, amazing. I love Mignola's art style. It's influenced me a lot. There's so many, if I was talking about art style and influences, definitely comic books is a big one.
Is there, so now that we've narrowed it down, I feel like I got something I can work with here. Is there a particular series or I know you said Hellboy, but maybe were you ever into the whole superhero charade growing up with the comics?
Oh, when I was a kid, for sure. Yeah. I used to love the X-Men, Spider-Man, all the kind of. I grew up in the interior of BC in a small town, and they had the comic racks in the corner store. The only way to get comics was to go down to the corner store and get some beat up Spider-Man comic, something that kids have leafed through a million times, and you scrounge a buck and you buy it, and yeah. Right now.
No, sorry. What were you gonna say? I totally.
No, I was just gonna say lately I've been really loving Sean Gordon Murphy's art. So comics for the art, if I'm gonna be honest. Tokyo Ghost is a great one, and like I said, anything from Mignola I'm stoked on, and yeah. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say I think the only comic that I've ever read was an Arty Series comic. And not
really?
Yeah, not like a dark Archie series, the new show or whatever, one of the old, where they're all drinking milkshakes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely read that. Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're fun. I think they're cute.
Yeah, well, like there's if you're talking about graphic novels now, there's so much more depth. Like if you get outside of superhero comics, there's fantastic work being done
Oh, I'm
from a
sure.
narrative standpoint. So
Um,
yeah, but like I said, it just stacks up and got to put
yeah.
them.
I was in the Chicagoland area the other day, and they were having the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo or whatever it was.
Nice.
And there are just rows upon rows of people who are creating their own comic book series, and it's amazing. Like, there's just so many of them.
Yeah, you can really be an indie creator now and find an audience.
Yeah.
Making comics is a ton of work. It's very challenging.
Do you ever see yourself doing that?
What like growing up, I definitely wanted, stepped into animation. Not that doing animation is less work per se, but I dabbled in the indie comic scene a little bit in Vancouver and just found that I didn't quite have enough time and wasn't going to fully commit,
Mm-hmm.
like making comic books in my spare time, was challenging. And so I did a few things with a crew here called Cloudscape Comics. They're an indie comic kind of company collective here. So that was awesome. They just gave me an opportunity to do some little anthology stuff. And yeah, it's fun. Yeah, doing comics is cool though.
Well, do you have any final thoughts? Any final words? Any final inspirational? I said this, yeah. That's my last interview. I said, "Do you have any final inspirational quotes?" And he was like, "That's a lot of pressure."
Yeah, I mean, I could have kicked some up yeah, definitely could have found some. No, I don't know. It's kind of hard off the top of your head, but I would just say, like, to anybody who's trying to get into animation or game development, just keep at it, and being down at GDC, it was great to see people kind of saying, hey, keep at it, but be honest with yourself, right?
Very true.
Like, look at your work and have other people look at your stuff and just try to gauge where it's at. Because I remember, like, when I started out animating, I was animating a lot, but I knew that my design skills and my draftsmanship wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so then it's a matter of like, okay, that's a weak spot that I want to develop and pursue. And so, over the last like 8 years, it's like just draw a lot, work on your design skills, and eventually, now for Griff Lance, I got to do, do all the character design, which for me was an awesome experience, and it really kind of puts a stamp on that for me. It's like, hey, I did the character design and the animation pipeline, So you can grow within your career, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, well, I really like that. Thank you again for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to when these episodes come out.
I'll let you know. I'll let everyone know. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and join next time on Gerard the Dinosaur. I will see you then.